Gates, guys and gals, how's it going? Oh, where to start with my escapade yesterday? Any of you that follow the channel or following on Facebook know that yesterday, Saturday, the 17th of February, I attended my first ever model competition. It was sponsored by, and I'm going to get this right, it's definitely a chapter of the International Plastic Modelers Society, the IPMS. Okay, that's a common group across the United States that holds model competitions, what's called master classes, where you can attend like little seminars on modeling, airbrushing, those kinds of things. So this was the Eddie Rickenbacker chapter. Anyone that's familiar with the Columbus, Ohio area, that's on the south end. It was, Air National Guard base. I think it still is used partially for that. It was used mostly by the military. It's kind of like an old rundown industrial side of town. Yeah, so where do I start? It's hard to begin. Now, we're going to do this intro. I'm going to explain my experiences or go over my experiences with the show. This is directed at, giving you out there some guidance if this is something you're thinking about doing. Apparently, there's several, throughout the country, chapters of this society that have these competitions, and they have basically, it's like a modeling club, which is great. I mean, I'm all for promoting hobbies, and this was my first time out. I didn't know how I was going to go. It was down by, downtown Columbus, Ohio. I live nicely out in the country where it's nice and quiet, and I have land. So I don't get down in the city much anymore, even though I grew up in the city. But anyway, it's in an area of Columbus where it's starting to get nicer. It's called the Short North. It's on High Street there in Columbus, Ohio, where you're getting a lot of the millennials and folks like me who are empty nesters who've decided they want to be part of the nightlife. We're getting a lot of condos, apartments, high-end stuff coming into this big area. We've got the Columbus Blue Jackets Arena District right there. We have the Columbus Convention Center. So the area has drastically improved, and since the last time I've been down there, it's improved even more as far as being more upscale. So, but we're right on the fringe of the hood, if you know what I'm saying. It was at the old Fort Hays. Now they've turned it into an education center, but Fort Hays, it's really kind of interesting. It was, in the Boy Scouts, when I was a Boy Scout, we used to go down there for camporees. And, as the name implies, it's Fort Hays. It was a full-fledged Army, what would you call it, fortress, where they did training, they did all kinds of things there up, before the Civil War. During the Civil War, it was a huge camp for recruits, training, and this and that. So it's a really historic area. You see these old, 1800s style barracks and things that are still there and are cool. And they've taken one of the buildings and converted to an arts academy for gifted kids in the school district, which is super cool. I'm all for that. I'm all for less sports, more arts. Arts stimulate this, your brain. Yeah, sports can to a certain degree, but as my opinion, is way too much emphasis on sports. But I digress. Now, we're already going to an area that, being in the business that I'm in for 28 years, when I first got into the business, that was where they send you. They send you for the big lawn company I worked for at the time, you get the worst route. Nobody wants, it's usually the inner city route. Nobody wants that route. Anyway, so I got visions of this. I'm thinking, well, it's a sketchy area. I gotta be really careful where I go. So on the onset, coming into this thing, it was a nice setup for my wife and I. We love going shopping. We love eating in nice restaurants. And this was an opportunity because between 9 and noon, it was check-in. So you come in, you check in your model, the models, you're entering into the contest. By noon, you have to get out of there. You have to be gone by noon, because between noon and 3, they judge. You can come back at 3. At about 3:30 or so, they open the guardrails and let people in to see, and they basically would put, if you got like a little ribbon or if you got a little plaque, it would be sitting next to your model if you won something. So that's kind of how the thing went. Now, so we figured, well, about 11-ish, we'll get down about 9:30. We'll get our models in. I'll do some filming, which I'm going to show here at the end of this intro. I'm going to put some clips up I got from the show to show you kind of what to expect. And then we figured, hey, we're close by German Village. We'll run down to German Village and eat at the famous Schmitz, which we love. We eat there at least once a year. Try 2 or 3 times if we can. Get down there. The food's amazing. If you're ever in Columbus, Ohio, you have to go to Schmitz in German Village. You won't be sorry, but if you're going there for lunch, you better get there around 11 when they open, because that place, you can get there to be an hour-and-a-half wait to get in there. So same for dinner. If you want to eat dinner there, you probably want to get there around 5. You know, you get there at 6, 6:30, you're going to be waiting an hour-and-a-half to get in there. That's how good the food is. So anyways, we just made a day of it. I was really looking forward to that, and it ended up working out nice. We got some snow flurries, which wasn't a big deal, but you know, we'd had a great lunch. Schmitz never disappoints. Then we went up to what's, you know, like I said, the short north area. There's a lot of construction still going on there. They're building more apartments and condos, and they're redoing the road, blah, blah, blah. And we got out. We finally found a place to park. Parking's a nightmare. So it ended up being a good day. We parked. We went into a couple shops. My wife got to shop a little bit. We also did hit a couple of shops in German Village. She was able to buy some new things for the house, pretty things that women like. So it ended up, you know, being a win-win. She's there to support me in my hobby. I'm there to support her in her hobby, which is shopping. And but getting back to the show, so we ended up turning into a whole day. So I encourage you, because where I was going with that was while I was at the show, there were other competitions throughout the state for the rest of the year, and I picked up some of these flyers. And there's 3 that I was particularly interested in. I think I've got 4 flyers here, though, for 4 different shows. So it's the IPMS. They're all IPMS, the International Plastic Modeler Society. You know, there's one in Dayton at the Air Force Museum, which I definitely would like to attend that, because I love the Air Force Museum. It's not held at the Air Force Museum. It's held in a building near there, so you could go. It's the same kind of thing. You go, you check your models in, you run over to the Air Force Museum. They have a cafeteria there, so you can get something to eat there. You can walk around the museum, which is no charge. They've got some great models for sale. They got other stuff to look at, things that they sell there that are really cool. Cleveland, there's one at actually at the Cleveland History Center in the Crawford Auto Aviation Museum. It's actually held there, so we definitely want to go to that one. So you can do these things with your spouse or with a buddy or something, and you can tie the competition in with typically something else in the area, which is what we like to do when we do our cycling and our hiking. We'll try to research where we're going, the area we're going into, and in this case it's at a history museum. And so it's something nice you can tie it into just a nice full day, because you can't just look at models all the time in the vendors area. You know, if you're not there with a shopping list of model kits you're looking for, there's really not a whole lot there, you know. So getting back, we get in, we I guess basically the long and short of this is I wasn't very impressed with this show. It's called Blizzardcon. Any of you guys in the Columbus area, Dayton, Cleveland, and looking to come to this, my opinion is I would not go to this show again. And here's why. It was very disorganized, okay? And I'm a stickler for being organized. You know, I got that German gene. I want A, B, C, D. I think to go smooth. And if it doesn't, I'm wanting to say who is in charge and was responsible for this mess. You know, yeah, I'm a tender-hearted person also. I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But it says here on their flyer that I picked up at my local hobby shop months ago that this is the 44th annual. So my thought is, In 44 years, don't you think you got this down pretty good, or it'd be smooth? And here is the problem for you guys, especially just getting into it, and any of you guys that are experienced modelers in the UK or Europe or Australia. You may know what I'm talking about with this topic, and that is your model category. So you come in, you pay your fee, right? Your fee to enter your models. I had 4 dioramas to enter. They're all 4 or 3 of them were World War II tanks dioramas. One of them was a artillery diorama, a German 88 artillery, which would be, in this case, would be anti-tank artillery. So technically those are 2 separate classes. Now this is where it can get confusing. Being a novice, and I'm sure on all these shows, you're wanting to draw new people into the hobby, right? So you got people like me coming in there who I've never done this before. I did get on their website before the event. They have a PDF of the entrance form for each model that you're entering. I did all that, but it has category. And I'm like, I don't know what category I am. I went to their website, I looked up the different categories. There's like 50 categories. There's like subcategories for World War II dioramas, kits, vignettes, or little, just maybe one little soldier on a display stand. There's a whole variety of categories. So I'm thinking, I don't really know what category I'm technically in. Now, based on the category that your model kit fits into, there, in this case, and what I'm finding with these other shows is there's typically an adult class and a master's class. A master's class obviously means you're very good. The competition level is going to be very high. So I said, this is my first time, obviously. I think I'm decent, but I know that I'm not the top of my form yet. These are the first 4 dioramas I've ever done as model kits. Yes, I've been a war gamer for years and years, but that's a totally different thing, although they do complement one another. And I highly recommend, if you're thinking about getting into model kits, definitely do it. It is a lot of fun, and it definitely has improved my wargaming painting and etc. So anyway, I play it safe. I'm going to go after the adult class. So I did check adult on my entrance forms for each model kit. Adult. We get there. I'm checking in. They don't say anything about category. I'm like, what about category? The guy says, just go down there. There's a table with 2 people sitting at the table. They'll direct you to which table you need to go put your model at based on your adult category. Because it sounded like this guy didn't really know. He was just a volunteer, blah, blah, blah. Lady takes my wife's money, or our money. I'm talking to the other guy. So we walk down this long hallway. I'm thinking, I'm carrying 2 diorama kits. My wife's carrying 2 diorama kits. I have the dust covers on them, which is another thing. If you have dust covers, which I really like doing because I don't have the display cabinet space, you have to have the dust covers off. So I knew once we got down there, I got assigned to a table. I would pop the dust cover off, put it off to the side so that the judges actually get down with magnifying glasses and stuff, right? So yeah, so we get down there. It's a night. There's just tables. They have little cards, M, A, different M64, A22, and underneath the little tags that are on the tables, it says World War II diorama aircraft, World War II diorama armor. So you think, well, that's probably armor, but I know I got 2 different classes here. I got one that's technically, according to their own classifications, is a artillery model. One is an armor model. Those were 2 separate categories. So I'm standing there. It's chaos. There's just people everywhere. It was too small of a space where they had the area to put your models for judging. For starters, I see the 2 people up on the stage. It's like in an old auditorium setup, where they've kind of converted it to a cafeteria. So I go up. I'm like, where should I go with these? I say to the guy, And I was getting ready to say, because I don't know technically what categories these fall under. And he cuts me off and says, well, obviously you're going to put them on the table so they can get judged. And I'm thinking, what an asshole, you know? Dude, I'm coming to you and you're supposed to help someone that doesn't know what they're doing. I freely admit I didn't obviously not know what I'm doing. And there's a lady sitting there and she says, maybe I can help. And I said, all I need to know is where these go for my category. I'm in the adult class and I'm not really sure what category these fit into. And the guy up at the front couldn't help me either. She goes, I'll show you where to put them. So she takes us over where we're supposed to put them, and we start putting them on the table. And we started looking at the cards where she told us to put them, and it says Master Class. It says on the M, like M24. M stands for Master Class. And I'm thinking, didn't she listen to me? I said I was in the adult class, registered for the adult class. So it's like you start feeling the frustration, and you're like, really? Why don't you have your table set up down by where the models are displayed? A, you shouldn't be in that area unless you're checking in a model. So there wouldn't be such confusion and commotion. B, as soon as I come there, if you don't know what class I am, first of all, you should know what class these models should be on my form. And then you should immediately have people standing there, part of your club, to take me to where you want me to put these models, right? Because there's like, what, 50 tables full of models, you know? You're like, obviously it didn't go with the rocket ships. But to get to the point is extremely disorganized, very frustrating. You're fighting people down the aisles just to get to where you're supposed to put the model. As in a lot of things these days, people are rude, they're obnoxious. You're constantly, excuse me, people bumping into you, and I'm thinking, oh, please God, don't let me drop one of these kids I worked for months on and fall on the ground and shatter, you know, in a million pieces. Although I did bring some spare super glue with me, but in the initial experience is very frustrating. I had someone that's already rude to me. All I was doing was asking a question, right? So immediately I'm like, okay, these guys do not have their act together. This is just basically a big free-for-all. It turns out she directs us to the wrong place. So I walked down a little further and I could see the A card, and it said tanks or armor, you know, World War II armor dioramas. And I'm like, we're supposed to be over on the other side where the A obviously stands for adult. I don't know what A means, right? But by the time I figured out A was adult, M was master class, right? Well, you go down there, there was no place to put my models. It was jammed with models. So you're already thinking, well, God, there's in this class, in this model class of armor, there's a gazillion people entering into that class, right? Because it's probably one of the most popular things to model is World War II armor, right? So I'm already thinking, yeah, there's no way I'm going to win anything. You know, there's just too many people in this category, which in the end I was right. But that's not really why I was there. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to see what it was like. The main reason I went is, yeah, maybe to get some feedback on my stuff and see how I gauge where I'm at on my skill level, but also to see what other guys are doing, especially the master class guys. And you'll see that in the upcoming clips. I mean, it's completely shifted my focus on how I'm going to do future dioramas, what scale I'm going to do future dioramas in, because a lot of the masterclass people, they're doing a 175th scale. They're doing I think it's 175th scale, the smaller scales. And here's why I figured out by the time I got done with this whole process. They're doing a smaller scale because it means it's a little tougher to model, because of that smaller scale. You're dealing with smaller parts, you're dealing with more fine details. But when you're carting models around in your car and you're going to these competitions, you don't want to be lugging these big, and you guys have seen on my other videos, these big display cases that I have. They're kind of awkward. I couldn't really figure out a way of other than buying big bins to put them in. I figured, well, they're already in a case. They're pretty well protected as it is. if we could just get them in there, even if I have to take a couple trips, I'll still be good. But it's still kind of bulky. And I saw a guy, a masterclass guy, he had a little bin about like this, but he had like 6 different entries. And I also noticed he had 6 entries, because the scale was smaller, he was able to put all that in one tote, and he's entering them in different categories. So he's covering 6 categories in this case, or 5 categories, 4 categories. And in the future, now I was doing a theme with the tank and the transport, but I think in the future, if I were to go with 4 entries again, they would all be entered for different classes. That's going to give you more of an opportunity to be in a class where there may be a little less competition. You got more odds of winning something. You know, they were given these little dinky little plaques, which is fine. It's really not what I'm there for. I didn't have to win anything, but so I guess that would be my first kind of tip, and one of the main things that I learned going to the show. The other thing is, you just don't know. The type of people that were coming to this show were, I don't know, I guess what you would call it, and I'm not trying to stereotype, I'm a blue collar worker, okay? I'm an educated blue collar worker, okay? And I would consider myself the top of my form for my profession. So I always judge the demeanor of other people, the politeness, you know, I don't like to be in an environment where I'm dealing with basically Neanderthal type individuals who can't say, excuse me, thank you, may I help you. It seemed like it was just a big mash of smelly old dudes, right? Rude, you know, most of them look like they just rolled out of bed. You know, a lot of the model kits, and you'll see, they're either not very good or extremely good. There's not a lot of in between. And another pet peeve of mine, and you guys may associate with this, and guys in the gaming industry and the model industry, the model hobbies in general, we have got to address this issue that I'm going to bring up. Okay, and it involves personal hygiene. Okay, and I know a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. Look, it's 2018. Everyone has access to soap and water. Okay, deodorant, laundry detergent, right? And you'll see this like at Adepticon and stuff. They have on the lists of do's and don'ts is bathe daily. Can you believe that? We have to put that on there, and I got to tell you, it was bad. We went into the vendor hall to just peruse through all of the things. First of all, the space was way too small for the amount of people that show up to this thing, which is a big mistake. You gotta have a big enough place. You want to have more than enough space. Even if you got to go to a high school gym, right, and do it at some local high school gym, a big gym, so you have plenty of space for people to spread out. This just wasn't big enough. So you're in there, you're doing this, you're walking down the little narrow aisles, looking at model kits, and people reeked. And this is, I've experienced this at gaming conventions and gaming shows. Same freaking thing. You're walking around and somebody smells like cat piss. The next guy's got BO. You got this other guy standing in front of you. He looks like he hasn't bathed in a month. You know, his clothes are got filth all over them. But, you know, they got money to build model kits and come and buy model kits. You know what I'm talking about. It's just ridiculous. Okay? So I think if more of us, you other YouTubers out there, we start speaking out about this, for God's sake, people, if you're going to go to a show, I don't care, you don't bathe any other time of the year, but if you're going out in public and you're going someplace where it's going to be a lot of people, take a freaking shower, put deodorant on, and wash your clothes before you go to these public places. Okay? Out of consideration for others, please. And if you have a cat, you need to freaking change the litter box more frequently, right? Otherwise you smell like cat piss, okay? It's disgusting. So we cruise through the vendors hall. We get out of there. We go to Schmidt's. I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm not ever coming to this show again. You just got a bunch of old curmudgeons. It looks like they never leave their house, and they're just rude and just the type of people. You know, I saw some younger guys coming in, and they had their Gundam models, which were cool. Personally, not my thing. There were some younger guys coming in there. Had some really great kits. I complimented a couple guys on how nice their kits were, and that's, you know, here we go. We got these young guys, 20s, you know, early 30s. You know, they're getting into the hobby. They're like me. They're probably coming there just to see how they can do. And they come in there, and there's people walking in front of them, and people biting their head off if you ask a question, and smell like cat piss. Okay. Odds are those people aren't coming back. Okay, that would be my bet. Anyway, this issue's got to be addressed, guys. And if those of you saying, "Oh, that's just no, screw you," take a freaking bath, wash your freaking hair, and wash your clothes. Okay, have some standards about yourself. I mean, nobody says, "Look, my wife comes from a family of 9, a poor family. She was raised in a trailer park. I come from a lower middle class family, a working class family. We didn't take a vacation, a real vacation, until I was like in the 7th or 8th grade. Okay, so don't tell me it's got anything to do with money. We were always clean. We had clean clothes, and we combed our hair. And when I was old enough to shave, I shaved every day, and had some freaking what's the word? Freaking self-pride. Okay, it's I don't know what's going on out here in the world these days, but every time I go into the inner city areas, I'm appalled. It's like, where do these people, do they like crawl out from underneath rocks? Right? Anyway, I got that off my chest because that really bothered me yesterday at the show. Bottom line, I did not win anything. Big surprise. I did have a guy, he left me a note by one of my kits. He wanted me to call him, which I will do sometime today or tomorrow. That's, you know, that is what it's all about. He was asking me about how I did my weathering. He wanted to pick my brain a little bit. So I'm going to call him here a little later, and I'll direct him to my channel. And that's what this is all about. That's what warms my heart. There were obviously a lot of good people there. Not everybody there was a rat ball, a rat from a rat trap, but the good guys that look, you know, they have it together. I mean, they got clean clothes on, they shaved, you know, they got there early. Those were the guys I noticed when they were taking their stuff out. They had the best stuff. Their stuff was beautiful. You can tell they're meticulous. Those are the kind of people I'm looking to connect with. You know, like attracts like, okay? And when you're not around like, you feel uncomfortable. It's just that simple. You can call it judgmental, all that bullshit you want to. Bottom line, that's just how it works in life, okay? You're going to go a lot farther if you take a shower, trust me. But what was I getting to? So it was exciting to see that. Then as I was looking at other tables with my camera and we were walking around looking at some of the other stuff, I'd look over and there were 2 or 3 guys, you know, pointing at my models, and they're looking at it and they're taking pictures, and I'm like, that's all the recognition that I need other than pleasing myself. There were guys looking at my kits and maybe saying, "Oh, I'm getting an idea. That, did you see how he did all 3 of the tank dioramas to do? I was doing like an armored theme." That's what I like. Just like 2 tables over, I'm looking at stuff and I'm thinking, that's what I want to do next. Not that exact layout, of course, but how they did it, the subject matter, the artistic way they presented the diorama, it just blew my mind. And again, I mentioned it earlier, that scale. I'm definitely going to a smaller scale because here's what it is. And see, I haven't got to that part yet. I keep getting off on these tangents, so bear with me. So it turns out my models got judged in the master class because of where I had to put them. There was no place for me to put them over an adult. Even though it said on my paper it was an adult class, I got judged in the master class. Now, even in the master class, there was a lot of entries, and the guy that won and had the plaque sitting by his, he had 2 entries, were amazing. just definitely, but there was some others there that were really close. I was like, man, there's 5 or 6 of these dioramas in the masterclass that are neck and neck. They were just as good as the other. So it is a subjective thing like any judging, but he definitely deserved to win that. I mean, it was top notch. I mean, he did a custom wood frame that held his diorama scene. The other thing you'll see here on the video is how these guys are having these nice little metal plaques done. I've got to research where that's being done at, or if I can buy the blank metal plaques and there's some way you can maybe there's like a little machine or something you can do, because this is what I also thought about too. It's nice to have the diorama, and the masterclass guys, when they do a diorama scene, they've got a title for it, you know, like waiting for orders, or, you know, end of the assault, you know, cool evocative, you know, titles like that, like a piece of artwork, which is exactly what they are, art. Just amazing stuff that really fueled me for the future kits, and we'll talk about that in upcoming episodes. I will I'm going to start doing my research some this afternoon on my next diorama kit, which I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do, and I'll let you know the next time where I'm headed. But it's going to be a smaller scale. It's going to be a lot more detail. I'm really got to pick the game up. So and that's fine, and that's the main reason I went. But as far as Blizzardcon, again, they're calling it BlizzCon. Even there is another BlizzCon out there. It's a gaming convention, or a, you know, like any one of these cons that are coming up these days. I would not recommend this. Okay, scale of 1 to 10, this was a 5. Okay, scale of 1 to 10, that's 5. Now, if you're a member of this club, I'm sorry, but I'm just being straight. I'm just a straight shooter. A lot of room for improvement. Get back at what we were there at, like quarter till 3. They didn't get done judging till like 3:40. You know, no time schedule. They're all just meandering around in there, still looking at models. I'm like, dude, you already had 3 hours to look at these models. And here's the thing: when you look at these tables, immediately you zone in on 3-4 models that just stand out. You know. And here's the thing, you really just, you know, let's say there's 75 entries on a particular category. There's only one that gets the little plaque put next to his model. And this is the next pet peeve of mine. Anybody out there running clubs or whatever, doing these model shows, look, I'm a guy who started my son out as a Tiger Cub Scout and took him to Eagle Scout. I was involved in scouting. Okay, I've been involved in church activities over the years. I know what it's like organizing events, organizing things. I'll be the first person to say, you know, I'm not willing to bitch unless I'm willing to be a part of the solution. Now, I'm willing to be part of the solution. I'm on here saying how the things that need improved. Okay, and I would be willing if you know, down the road here, I start my gaming club, I'm also thinking about spinning it off and making it also a modeling club too, and starting our own chapter for the modeling club. And maybe someday up here in Delaware, we may just do our own modeling convention. Okay, and that's going to be run to the T. So here's where I'm headed. When you judge models, give people feedback on your form. Have things on there. Maybe have a little place you can make a quick note. Because I get back, the guy next to me had won. He had the little plaque. Great kit. He deserved to win. He had a great kit. Here's my 4 sheets of paper underneath my kits. I'm thinking, oh, you know, they probably graded it or they left me some tips. Nope, nothing. Then it turns out I got judged in the master class, right? It's just frustrating. So you go down there, you spend the entire day, you drag your kits down there, you set your kits up, you come back, you wait for the judges, and there's nothing. You know, there's no, on a score of 1 to 10, you're a 7. Good job on this. You need to work on this. Your seams need to be better. Something. Give me some kind of feedback, right? I come back. I go to my model. There's nothing there. There's nothing on the sheets. We get my models. We leave. You're like, eh. You know, I had the little note, that's nice. I did see people looking at my kits and pointing at them, taking pictures. So I know they were getting something from the kits I did, but that's the only other thing. So I really can't think of any other topics to discuss in terms of this con. I'm gonna check out these others. Definitely be doing some filming at these others as I do them. There's one here in April. There's like one in November. There's one this summer. They typically are on the weekends, so I should be able to do these. April, I don't know. I may just end up just taking these kits there and just re-entering them in another contest. I think I'm going to rodeo someone up that's part of the club that's throwing it and bring them over and say, look, would you do me a favor when you guys come over to judge my models? Would you give me some constructive feedback? You know, at least now I kind of know how this works, and I'll know a little bit more about what to do. But it is really nice if you would have where you enter people in, you take them, you help them, especially, are you new? Are you familiar? Do you know where you put your stuff? And I would have said, no, I don't. Well, help me out a little bit. And then keep everybody out of that area until later, after the judging's done. They can come and look at the model kits, or maybe have a period where only entrants can come into that area so it's not so chaotic. You know, streamline it a little bit. And for God's sake, of all the things that you learn from this little segment, is, for God's sake, take a freaking bath. Ciao, guys.
9.
There's mine, guys.
Very good.
That's really nice. World War II stuff looking pretty good. Yep. Wow, those are amazing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
What is my screen?
I really like that.
It was
Army transport is
second
sweet.
I think, because they got the black under. But anyway, it was.
That was really nice.
What's the Liberty Foundation? What finger they fly it now? Rogers made.
Oh, it's Messerschmitt.
Yeah, they were
Check
in
him out.
Columbus at Bolton Field, and I was helping them.
That is really, really nice.
So I got a bunch of good photos from that. Actually, the guy that was flying the plane, he's like, this guy, veteran, Vietnam. Hey, Adam, who was that pilot that was flying?
He's out of Atlanta.
He has like 15,000 hours.
F4s, A4s.
Yeah.
This
He
is
even
really nice
worked
too.
with Pentagon because he knew so much about the A-10. They were trying to use it as like a drug. Like something. When he was literally like telling the government everything.
I've been scared of this several times. Not least of which when this guy was flying the
I look at their stuff. That is really cool. That's some good detail right there. And take it from a guy who does 15mm World War II.
Younger Kind of liking these smaller scales, huh? Isn't that cool? Check this out. That is freaking awesome. I think 8 gigs will be enough. Yep. Oh, that's really nice right there. Really nice. Very nice. I'm partial to German stuff. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I'm really liking that smaller scale. Makes it easier to transport that way.
It's weird to see you.
I'm sorry, Carol.
What are you up to?
Wow, that's really nice.
Might still do occasionally.
Just, yeah, but how he did the wood and the... Yeah, it is nice detail.
Even though I know
Oh yeah.
And that's really... Look, people are congregating by my models. I'm loving it. Scratch build. Just use sheets of polystyrene. Here, look at that little sub. That is cool. I don't think I'm ready for ships yet, but ships is a whole other level. Wow.
Yeah.
That is really nice. I tried to do an aircraft carrier once and I ended up giving up on it. But these little ones, wow. Incredible. Try to see it has a that's really nice. And if they call these big nets,
Figures.
Crusader in front of a cross. That is badass. I'd like to do something like that. Amazing. One of my favorite characters of Jaws. Quint. That's nice. Oh, this is really nice too. Oh my gosh. I like the pirate a lot too. Amazing. Military vignettes. Nice.
Want to get home?
Nice. He's got everything in one little. That's why the small scale's nice. Crazy good in these smaller scales. I am really liking smaller scale. Now I know if I come back next year, we're going for the master class. Not so sure about that one. That's your typical Star Wars stuff. Alright guys, here we are again. This is my stuff that I really like. It's really standing out. I'm really liking that. This is pretty nice. Quirky and nice. stuff here. There you go. These are armor dioramas also. See, this is where I should have been go.
That is where you are.
Is
It
it? Oh, they
says-
must have put more down here.
It says armor dioramas. That's
Okay.
why. But I think it's a different number. I don't understand what they're doing.
That's. Oh, hold
I'm
on.
sure that's-
Is this?
Nice. Nice, I like that.
I think you're still getting the wrong spot because it's under mask dioramas, armor dioramas.
Maybe leave it there and they won't know. Because it's checked adult. And
That's
you-
what. That's